Good morning. Good morning, Angel. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Stacy. Listen, YouTube, y'all be sitting on ready. Just confirm. We got to confirm every time. Ever since we had that mic trip up a couple episodes ago, I need to make sure we super good. So give me a thumbs up if the mic sounds nice. Give me a thumbs up if the mic sounds nice. Good morning, Instagram. What's up? What's up, y'all? Good morning. Good morning. Stacy said, "It is possible. I feel so good." Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Y'all already talking my language. Good morning to everyone. Hey, Instagram. So today I'm going to be sharing 5 things that I've done to have a successful speaking and coaching career. Y'all gonna love today's episode. Welcome back to the Plant Protocol Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa A. Smith. Good morning, Dr. Travis. What's up? Sweet Imagine. Is that Sweet Imagine 7? Good morning to you on Instagram. Okay, y'all. So let's address the slim, tiny elephant in the room. Now, listen. Before we kick off today's episode of the Plant Protocol Podcast, we have to address the slim elephant in the room. It used to be the big elephant in the room. Those of y'all who took the 30-day challenge, you know what I'm talking about. But let me address the slim elephant in the room. Today is Monday, February 3rd, and we just completed our winter 2025 30-day vegan salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge. And when I tell you guys, the results have been insane. There is no more big elephant in the room, okay? We can only address the little elephant in the room. Y'all done lost weight. Y'all done got off of medications. Y'all done improved bedroom behavior. Y'all done got over food addiction. And let me tell you, I have been getting messages, public and private, about the big decisions you guys have been making in your life about your career, about your relationships, about eliminating chronic stress. You guys are pulling the trigger on decisions that you have been sitting on. When I tell you the Plant Protocol 30-day vegan challenge is unmatched, it's unmatched. It's so good. It's so good. So we're going to get into the topic, but I had to address all of you guys who participated in the Plant Protocol 30-day vegan SOS challenge for the month of January 2025. I want to personally again say thank you. I want to say I'm proud of you. I want to say I can't wait to do it again in July. We already got registration open for the next one, but the weight loss, the getting off of meds, the mental clarity, almost every review we've gotten in, it's like, oh my God, the mental clarity. I'm thinking so clear. Like the lifting brain fog will change your life. Sometimes you don't even know you in the fog until it's lifted. Y'all know what I'm saying? Good morning, Ujo. So, Ujo, I emailed you, FYI. So sometimes you don't even know that you are walking around as less than your best self until you have an experience like this where you're eating super clean, you're moving more often. And I didn't mention this, but let me mention this. You're coming alive every week because you're in a community of high-spirited people. Like one of the reasons I teach twice a week during our challenge is because for some of us, we're in such a monotonous routine, like go to work, come home, work out, cook for my family or run errands or spend some time. And it's just like a cycle. And we're not getting like some excitement and some liveliness in our life. And so when you come to our challenge, we got the music going. I'm dancing on the screen. We having a good time. We laughing, we cracking jokes. I'm coaching, I'm yelling at people. It's all the things, right? And for some of us, that helped us heal in the month of January. The fact that we put ourselves in a community that was full of energy, that was so spirited, that was so different from our regular normal routine. So those of you who are participating in the challenge, can you relate to that? Like, did you have that experience too, where like, it wasn't just the food, it wasn't just the exercise, but it was also being in the ecosystem where you felt alive and you were excited to show up to class and you got to laugh and you got to play and you got to get told off, all the things, right? So, anyway, that's the end of my rant. I had to address the little elephant in the room because you guys just did phenomenal. So, thank you for supporting me on my mission to extend the healthy life expectancy for people of color, because you guys showed up and you guys did all the things that you need to do to actually extend life, right? And so feeling better, like beating medications, beating diagnosis, like putting stuff in remission. When I say people, we didn't just reduce some people numbers, like some people came off of medications. I need y'all to understand that. So it was a powerful experience. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you guys so much, so much. So that's it for me. Now, let's get into today's episode. Now, many of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I am, in addition to being a coach, I'm the founder of a coaching company. We have coaching programs, we run challenges. But in addition to that, I'm also a speaker. I'm a professional speaker. And I need you guys to understand how I got here, because one of the things that happened during our last challenge is we had a ton of people who say, Lisa, I'm actually interested in doing something similar to what you're doing. I want to speak. I have a story to tell. I believe my story belongs on stage. I want to write a book. I want to be a coach, maybe not in the health space, but I'm definitely interested in coaching other people. I have a passion. I have a mission. Like, I literally had somebody email me yesterday who took our challenge, and she's also in our Farm to Table coaching program. And she's like, this experience has motivated me to include nutrition into my nonprofit. I was like, what? Right? She had she has a nonprofit that's focused on something completely different. But she was like, one of the things I want to include in our programming now is the importance of nutrition and how we take care of ourselves, and the difference between like healthcare and the traditional healthcare system versus things we can do to heal ourselves. And she was like, this experience has motivated me to include that into my nonprofit. I'm like, God, yes. Do you guys understand? Like, there's nothing like being mission driven, because everything you do is more meaningful. And so I was just so excited about that. And so we have you guys who are entrepreneurs. We have aspiring entrepreneurs in this community. We have coaches and aspiring coaches, right? We have some like high level C-suite CEO people. You guys are leaders. You guys are responsible for teams and people. And you guys also, a lot of you want to be speakers. You want to create content online. You want to speak on stages at events. I was talking to somebody yesterday who wants to create her own event. She's like, Lisa, I want to create this event and I want you to come speak at it, right? And so you guys are doing some phenomenal things. And so one of the things I thought we should spend some time talking about is how I've been able to establish a successful speaking career. Now, let me start off by saying this. Number one, I am not professionally trained. I have never done a professional speaking program. Like, I've never been a Toastmasters. I've never taken a program that teaches you how to be a speaker on stage. I'm not professionally trained. The other thing you need to know about me is that I didn't go to school for this. So I have a bachelor's in psychology and I have an MBA. I'm certified to teach English as a second language. I was certified as a personal trainer, certified in plant-based nutrition. I got a bunch of like continuing education stuff. However, I did not once go to formal school for speaking, for media, for communications, none of it. Like psychology and business. Okay. So neither one of those majors require me to speak or learn the skill set of speaking. The other thing you need to know about me, and this is a big one because this speaks to who I am naturally, I am an introvert. Okay. So I am an introvert. And what most introverts typically believe about themselves is that, I prefer to stay out of the spotlight. I prefer to stay behind the scenes. Like, I'm not a people person. I prefer to be alone more often than I'm with people, some introverts, right? And so I am naturally an introvert. You also need to know that about me. And the final thing you need to know about me before we get into these 5 things is I get paid thousands to speak. So, all of that being said, I am not professionally trained. I did not go to school to be a speaker. Oh, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity. Some people just get picked to speak because of their name, right? I'm not a celebrity. Okay. I'm naturally an introvert. And with all of that, I get paid thousands to speak. So I need you guys to understand the things I'm about to explain to you are doable if you have a similar circumstance, but you desire to tell your story. You desire to teach a segment of the population, maybe a skill set or speak on a skill set that you feel passionate about, whether you want to go into organizations or whether you want to do it in a nonprofit space or whether you want to do it in a consumer space. It is possible for you. I know a lot of you guys want to do this, so let's get into it. The very first thing I did, oh, wait a minute, y'all, I got tea this morning. I got a different type of tea too. I got some oolong, okay? My boo bought me some oolong. All right, so let's get into it. So the very first thing, some of y'all gonna be mad at this, but y'all take notes in the chat, okay? The very first thing I've done to establish and have a successful speaking career is I got physically healthy. I got physically healthy. Let me explain. So I used to be overweight and I was not confident in my physical appearance. Now, let me tell you a story. So, some years ago, when I was a little earlier on in my entrepreneurial career, I had already personally lost my weight. I was already had lost my 60 plus pounds, right? So, it was after my weight loss journey. I started my career, my company, and I was at that time, my company was called Professionally Fit, and I was helping other professionals to get healthy. I specialized in weight loss. I was a personal trainer at the time. And I had a woman, she sent me a DM. She sent me a DM on Facebook and she said, "Hey, I just got tapped to do a documentary. They want to film me to be part of this documentary." She said, "But I am overweight and I am insecure in my body. And I am debating not taking the opportunity because of how I look physically." Recently, I had a conversation with someone who's like, "I create content online. I do show up, but I am not happy with what I look like. I'm not fully confident in my physical appearance." I have a business coaching program. I have a business accelerator. In my business accelerator, I teach my entrepreneurs how to create content online. Some of them have told me I am struggling with how I look on camera. So, the point of these stories is there's a theme. There is a bunch of us who desire to use our voice to move people, who desire to move our voice to move use our voice to move crowds. However, we're having an internal struggle with how we physically appear on camera. Lisa, I can't stand to see myself on camera. I can't stand to see myself looking back at me. I had one woman reach out to me. She's like, my neck is too big and I got this going on. And imagine you feel called to move people in some area. However, you can't get past the sight of you. Therefore, you make a decision to be disobedient on the assignment. The first thing I did to have a successful speaking career, whether you like it or not, I don't know if you was looking for business tips, but first things first, I got confident in what I looked like. I got confident in what was looking back at me. I got rid of any insecurities. Now, I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with being overweight, except that it's a health challenge. But I'm not telling everybody to be a certain size. I'm saying if you look in the mirror or if you imagine yourself on stage or if you've turned the camera on a time or two and the first thing you can think about is what you look like versus what your message is, then you might have some work to do. Okay? So I lost the weight because I didn't like my love handles. I didn't like the fact that I felt obligated to put on a jacket or multiple layers when I was going in front of people because I didn't want them to see my love handles. I didn't like that. I didn't like how much space my weight took up in my mind. I didn't like it. So I lost weight because I got sick of thinking about losing weight. I needed to look a certain way so that I could be happy on stage. Now, you get me to your event, you get me on your news station. I don't care if it's virtual, from the neck up on camera. I don't care if it's in person and I'm physically on the stage with my pumps on. There's not a single moment, praise God, there's not a single moment where I'm concerned with how I look because I know I look good. Listen, I went to an event last year. Was it last year? last year, or the year before, I was speaking at a Black Nurses Conference. And child, so I ran a breakout session, right? So they had me do a breakout session. And so when you do a breakout session at a big conference, your room is smaller, right? So people can really see you. Like some speaking events, you on the big main stage, right? And so you may be a little further away from the audience. But then some speaking events are more intimate. So when I spoke at the Black Nurses event, and they was like, "We want you to do a breakout session." I said, "Bet." I did a breakout session. So we're off into a smaller classroom. There was no stage, right? All the seats, everybody, we're all on the same level, on the same floor. So I'm not elevated and there's no distance between me and the audience. And me, as you can tell here on camera, I'm a physical speaker. So I'm gesturing. I like to walk around. I might high five somebody. Like my classes be lit, right? So I'm like, not a single moment. What a blessing to be free of stuff that was taking up mental real estate. Not a single moment did I think, oh my God, I'm gonna be in this smaller classroom, more intimate crowd, walking around with my dress and my pumps on. I didn't worry about my feet hurting. I ain't worried about my knees hurting. I wasn't worried about my back hurting. I wasn't worrying about love handles. I wasn't worried about my stomach. I wasn't worried about nothing. Matter of fact, I was happy that was going to be more intimate because I'm like, well, they really about to get this body, yada, yada. Because I was teaching plant-based nutrition to Black nurses to teach them how to use plant-based nutrition in their practice when they go back in clinical and teach them the power of nutrition in clinical. And so, listen, let me tell you what happened. First of all, I rocked out the breakout session. Matter of fact, my room was in overflow. There were seats outside my door. People was leaning in trying to hear. So my room was in overflow because that's all I operate in. I'm God's favorite. And so let me tell you something. At the end of that breakout session, people lining up to ask me questions, right? They lining up to ask me questions. And one lady came up to me and she was like, I don't even really have any questions. I just want you to know I believe everything you're saying and everything you're selling because you look like what you're talking about. I'm looking for a mic to drop because I got to talk into this one. Okay. She said, you look like what you just said to us. The very first thing I did to have a successful career in speaking is I worked on my physical body and any other health challenges. Now, I just happen to be only overweight. But if y'all dealing with high blood pressure, autoimmune, chronic inflammation, chronic fatigue, headache, I don't care what it is, skin issues, anything that might distract you mentally, work on it. If you want to be in front of these people, if you want to be on these stage, Ujo gave me a mic. Thanks, Ujo. If you want to be in front of these people, if you want to be on the mic, make sure you can do it without distractions. And if one of your distractions has historically been yourself, your body, your appearance, go in the lab and do the work. You working on the wrong thing. You out here trying to write pitches. You looking for organizations. You trying to figure out what your keynote talk going to be about. No, put that to the side for 2 seconds and go to the gym for 30 minutes. Go eat right. Go get super confident in your appearance because I promise you, whether you know it or not, and you like, no, Lisa, I'm still working on myself and I still want to work on my business, blah, blah, blah. I promise you, it still impacts the opportunities that you go after. It still impacts your ability to show up fully. Some people, I'm going to tell you one final way and then we're going to move on to number two. I'm going to tell you one final way and then we're going to move on to number two. Honey, hold on. Let me sip. Forgot my tea was cooling off. Y'all play too much. Okay. Let me tell you this one final thing about number one. One of the things, for example, you guys know I create content online. Welcome. Hello, it's me, right? Now, I teach this process to my students in the Business Accelerator. So I teach them how to create content, how to create topics, how to create attractive content that's going to make people want to work with them, right? And I'm going to tell you another way that the physical thing shows up for people. When I tell them, okay, go create content on your, on your page, on your YouTube page, on your Instagram page, on your Facebook page, on your LinkedIn, wherever you want to show up, right? And I give them kind of a blueprint for, I need you to go live, I need you to record videos, I need you to whatever. But specifically when it comes to going live, right? Some of my students have a lot of apprehension because they would prefer to pre-record their videos instead of just going live, because they want to micromanage every single appearance. They want to micromanage every single word coming out of their mouth. Imagine you being so confident in your appearance physically that you can hit the live button whenever, however. You don't got to make adjustments. You don't have to hide anything. You don't have to make sure the lighting is right, so your chin or your neck or whatever. Imagine just being able to do what your coach is telling you to do without having to spend hours pre-recording a video because you're so insecure, because you can't go live. Imagine just being able to like, let me get my lighting and my mic, and coach, what did you want me to do? Imagine being able to just do the work without you being consumed by how you're going to appear. So that's another, like, some people can't even just post because they're like, okay, I got to record it and re-record it 8 times until I feel somewhat comfortable with releasing this content. So it costs you time and energy being physically insecure. Okay, so that's number one. That's number one. I worked on my physical appearance to have a successful speaking career. Here's number two. Now, if number one is physical health, number two is emotional health. The second thing I did to have a successful speaking career is I healed from any trauma that might have been keeping me or holding me back. So I did a healing series in the month of November 2024, a couple months ago. I did a healing series on YouTube, right? It's a 4-part healing series. If you need to heal from something, from some type of trauma, grief, loss, whatever, that will be a phenomenal series to listen to. Okay. So I personally had to heal from abandonment. My biological father abandoned me when I was really young. Like, him and my mom were co-parenting. He was visiting me and then he stopped, and I've never seen him since, right? So I had to go through the whole process of reconciling that emotionally, right? And the reason that's important is because when you haven't healed privately from things that have hurt you or caused you damage, publicly, when it's time to show up, you are not the best version of yourself because you never know what's going to trigger you. You never know what's going to trigger you, and it impacts your ability to deliver a good message on stage, right? You never know how you are going to respond to the audience, to the ask from the organization. You never know. And so, one of the worst things you can do is try and pursue a public facing role while not doing the private work to heal from the stuff that has caused you damage, right? So an example is, I'll give you a very easy example. Like, before I healed from abandonment, right, I think I had perfection issues, perfectionist, right? And so I was always a couple of things. Number one, I had perfection issues. Number two, I had challenges with celebrating things because I was always just chasing accomplishments. I'm like, I just want to be enough for my dad to love me. So on to the next thing, on to the next. I would do something super cool that was worth pausing and celebrating, and I wouldn't. It's just like, whatever, that's no big deal. It's over. It came and went. On to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. But then also, when it came to perfection, like, I wanted everything to be done a certain way. So I had to do everything a certain way. And then when it came to like recruiting people to work for me, they had to do things a certain way. And when they didn't, I was willing to let them go. My first course of action, this is with a team. This is with recruiting a team as an entrepreneur. This is with friends, and this is with partners in life. My first course of action, as soon as things weren't perfect, was to abandon the situation. You know how many assistants I went through before I was healed? Now I understand. Now I'm more mature as a leader, and now I'm more healed as a person. So I understand I got to train people, and I understand I got to give people grace of being human, and I understand those things. But before I was healed, I'm like, well, shoot, I didn't know this consciously, but my dad had demonstrated how to leave things, right? And I didn't see a big deal with doing the same. Like, forget this, I'm out, right? And so I had abandonment in my own spirit. I had perfectionist issues. I didn't know how to celebrate wins. All of these things are different today. And so all of that impacts how you're able to show up, because if you're unhealed, even your message is not as fire, because there's a part of you that you're not willing to reveal, or that's a part of you that you can't, like, because you haven't reconciled who you are privately and you haven't worked on your own EQ, your own emotional intelligence privately, it's very hard to show up fully in your business. I have somebody like this in my life now who they're not fully healed. They are a people pleaser. And so I watch them try and present and teach to other people. And I can watch when they're uncomfortable, because they're charged with the responsibility of telling somebody to do something that they themselves haven't done privately. It messes up everything you're trying to do as a coach and a speaker if you haven't healed. It compromises your own integrity if you have not healed, right? And so you never know how you're going to be triggered, and that can cause a serious, serious hindrance in your ability to deliver content and messages that really resonates with the audience that you're trying to serve. So being unhealed really prevented my speaking and my teaching from going to the next level, right? So I hope that makes sense, and um, I don't want you guys to minimize that, because it's like, I'm trying to get to the money, I'm trying to get to the opportunities, I'm trying to get my face out here. Meanwhile, you still super broken, right? So that's the second thing I did. So now I'm not a perfectionist. However, I demand excellence. So I no longer have a spirit of perfection. I now have a spirit of excellence, and it's different. So I demand excellence out of myself and everybody that works for me. But excellence and perfection are not the same thing. And I understand that now. So now I keep people longer. People are on my team longer now, right? Like I'm in relationships longer now. I'm willing to work with people on things now, right? So being healed completely changes the game. Let's get into number 3. The third thing I did in order to be successful as a speaker, this one is major, is I developed self-awareness, meaning I understood better who I was naturally. Remember at the beginning of this, I told you guys I am an introvert. I didn't learn that about myself until within the last couple years is when I learned that. Like this is new to me. Okay. Within the last couple years is when I learned that I was an introvert. The reason this is so important, I have to say this, because this is how it's made me a better speaker. The reason this is so important, because I've been speaking for years, I could not understand for the life of me why, after doing something that I genuinely enjoyed and that I was so good at, was I so freaking exhausted. Like, I used to teach a class every first Saturday of the month. I used to teach it in person for like 3 years, and then the last 2 years, I taught it virtually after COVID. And it was called Get Planted, an introduction to a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And I used to rent out this space in downtown Detroit, and I would show up and I would speak and I would teach. And then a bunch of people will want to talk to me afterwards and ask me questions. And Lord, give me hugs. Lord, I'm still recovering from that. So it was all this hugging, I'm shaking hands, kissing babies, giving hugs, answering questions. And then people so hyped up after my talk, and they want to tell me their stories. Like, I've been coming to your class for this many months now, and I just got to tell you, I'm losing weight. I'm doing this. And this was a free class. I wasn't even charging for it, but they were just coming because I'm good at what I do, and they were getting results. And so I got to listen to testimonies. I got to answer questions. I got to do all these things. People want to work with me. How can I work with you? Or people want to book me. Hey, I want you to come speak at my church. I want you to come speak at my thing. And I love it. But for some reason, after it was over, I would be like, lay me down for 2 days. Lay me down for 2 days. Now, I'm not saying that all of that is not naturally tiring, but I'm like, I'm above and beyond tired. Why? And it wasn't until I learned that I was an introvert, and peopling takes energy away from me, that I was then able to make some adjustments. So I became a better speaker when I learned my natural preferences. So now what do? I'm so smart. Now I schedule my talks and my teaching I intentionally lighten those days. Like one of the things I did in the month of January during our challenge, during our challenge, I teach twice a week. And so I teach twice a week during our challenge. And so what I would do on Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings when I had to teach, I would go out of my way to make sure I had as little as possible booked on those days because I needed to rest for hours before and I needed to be able to decompress after. Before I knew I was an introvert and I didn't understand why speaking wore me out, I would just be like, yep, I could take calls before or after. I could teach a whole nother class. I would pack everything out. And then inevitably what would happen is I wouldn't show up as my best self when it was time to speak because I didn't take the time I needed before and after to be ready and to decompress. So self-awareness is so important. The way I really took my speaking game to the next level is better understanding my own energetic capacity. Because I need time for me, because I have a spirit of excellence, I needed time to formulate my talk. I needed to spend time with my content. I needed to be able to go over what I wanted to say. I needed to think about who was going to be in the room and make sure I really structured my talks to really be in service to them. And then I had to spend some time with God so I can make sure what I wrote down is what he wanted me to say. I had to make space for the divine downloads so that my talks were faith-filled. So I needed time for all of that. Then afterwards, I need time for more decompression. And so I used to think I could just keep working after I left the stage. I used to think, I can work up until the moment I get on the stage. But when I learned I was naturally an introvert, I had to make adjustments. And those of you who are on right now, who took our 30-day challenge in January, tell me, can you attest to this? When I showed up to class, was I on fire every single time? Like, at one time, did it appear as if I was tired, overwhelmed, exhausted, rushing? I need y'all to tell me the truth. And we went for the entire month of January for 31 days. I'm teaching twice a week, Wednesday evening, Saturday morning. You guys tell me, what version of me did you get? Okay. And the version of me that you got was Angelica. Angelica is my alter ego. She's my extrovert, right? But when I'm private with my friends and my family, I'm super chill. We gonna crack jokes, we gonna have a good time. I'm gonna probably be dancing around the house, but I'm super chill, right? I'm not a big extrovert, right? However, most people are so surprised to hear that after they've heard me speak. Okay. Ujo says, you were on fire, ma'am. Malika said, you were always on point. Exactly. Regina, all the fire emojis. Thank y'all for confirming that. That was intentional and was orchestrated. That was not my natural personality. And I am naturally fun, but what I'm saying is I had to rest to do that, right? Because you have to know who you are so that you can manage how you show up. And so self-awareness was a game changer. So before I go on to number 4 and 5, I want to tell you guys that developing self-awareness for me happened in 2 ways. Number 1, I got into a community who mastered how to teach someone self-awareness. So my coach is Dr. Eric Thomas, and I'm in his community, and they have an assessment that they use to help people better understand their natural personality style, their natural preferences. So not only was I in the community with the creators of the assessment, so it's not just an assessment that they pulled off the internet and now they use in their company. They literally created the assessment. So what's so dope about that is they created the assessment, which means they're masters over the assessment. So which means when I take the assessment, when all of us in the community take the assessment, they are able to explain it to us in finite detail. If you scored this is what this means about you. So I have been studying myself for years. I've been taking his assessment for years. I take it once a year. I've been studying his assessment for years, mastering myself. I don't just, how some of us, we take these fun personalities assessments and we're like, oh yeah, that's cool. That is true about me. Yep. No. I need y'all to understand the lengths I went to develop self-awareness. I didn't just take this assessment, read the results and say, yep, accurate. Not so much. Yeah, that's me. No. I took it. I read the results. I went to the classes when they were breaking it down. And then I committed to every month looking at my assessment and pulling something off that assessment that I wanted to work on about myself. So, like, I need y'all to understand, like, when I say develop self-awareness, it's not like just take an assessment and confirm, yeah, I'm an introvert. I was like, okay, how does naturally being an introvert, I'm like, shoot, that don't really pair well with my desire to become a public figure on track to be a historical figure. I was like, I'm gonna have to people. I'm like, okay, well, let me study myself and see what I naturally do. And then let me see what areas of this assessment I need to grow in because I'm developing a career where I want to be a public figure, where I'm speaking, I'm teaching, I'm coaching, I'm being an author in a public forum. And so I need to master myself. So I need you guys to understand what I say when I say I master myself. This wasn't just like, oh, yeah, that's true. This is me studying my own self intentionally on a regular basis to get better at being me, but then also to see what my natural limitations were and get better at those. Okay. So, what's your name on Angie? MIKSTGO8 says, what was the assessment called again? It's called the flight assessment. It's called the flight assessment. So, all right. So that is number 3, mastering yourself to see what adjustments you need to make so that you can show up excellently publicly. All right. All right. Let's get into number 4. And number 4 is really like a 3A. So number 4, you're welcome. Number 4 is a piggyback off of number 3. So I told you number 3 was I developed a high level of self-awareness and I made the adjustments, right? Number 4 is I was obedient despite my preferences. Okay. I was obedient despite my preferences. So let me explain what that means. My preference is not to hug people. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. All that hugging. My preference is not to hug people. My preference is not to do a whole bunch of small talk. I hate small talk. My preference is to be direct, get to the point, get up out of here. My preference is to work alone most of the time. My preference, but based on my mission, i.e., my assignment to extend the healthy life expectancy for people of color, and based on the route I've decided to take to do that, which is I'm going to be the brand, I'm going to be the public figure, I'm going to do the speaking and the teaching, I'm going to make history. I'm not going to leave it up to somebody else. I'm not going to put anybody else in the driver's seat of my mission. So since I decided I got to do that, I decided, my preferences don't serve me here. Dr. Travis said, yep, that's you. It sure is. Like, you can give me a project, put me in a room, make me a cup of tea, and leave me the heck alone. I'm gonna emerge from the room in a couple of hours and be like, project done with a spirit of excellence, is ready to go, and I already sold it to 3 people. Oh, I execute, right? Like, I don't need a lot. I don't need to be doing all this people. And matter of fact, the fewer amount of people that are required to get a project done, the better. Like, my preferences, like, I'm in a silo. Like, I can live in a cave if I needed to, right? Like, I'm super good, right? My preferences is that, like, but I had to realize, listen to number 4, y'all. I had to realize, and some of you guys need to write this down, but not just on paper. You might need to write it on your forehead so you see it every time you look in the mirror. I had to realize, to have a successful speaking career, to have a successful coaching company, to be a public figure, my preferences don't always serve me. Write it down, then take a picture, and then put it somewhere you can see it every day. My preferences don't always serve me. So I'm naturally introverted. I'm naturally very direct. But listen, I'm in a coaching business. I work with a ton of humans with a ton of different personality types. Now, I'm not going to hold you. My favorite is the people who are just as direct as me. We get on a Zoom call and we ain't got to do nothing but get to the point. But that's not my entire audience. Some people, when they get on a Zoom call to me, they want to fan out. They want to do small talk. They want to, and we got to do that lovey-dovey stuff first before we get to work. I had to learn how to do that. My preferences don't always serve me. And I'm not encouraging anybody who love the lovey-dovey stuff to stop doing it when you get on the call with me. Y'all don't have to call me or get in a meeting with me and be like, Lisa, I know you don't like this. Don't do that. I'm here. I've changed, right? I want to do it because that's what you need, right? But I'm just teaching that in order to have a successful public facing role, you got to understand that the public needs different stuff. And so some of us, we're not where we want to be because our preferences are the end all for every decision we want to make. I don't do that. I don't like that. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to have to talk to people. I don't want to have to sell. I don't want to have to mark out. Your preferences ain't working for you. So you're going to have to get out of your own way. You're going to have to get out of your own way and do what's required. And when I say what's required, you're going to have to do what the mission requires. You're trying to do what Tiffany requires. You're trying to do what Stacy requires. You're trying to do what Regina. No. What does the mission require? If you change that perspective, everything will change. If the mission requires that you on camera, if the mission requires that you hug people, if the mission requires that you speak up, if the mission requires that you recruit and lead a team, if the mission requires you to do something that's outside of your preferences, do what's required. Do what's required. Don't abandon the mission because you have personal preferences. Like I done heard people like, I don't like people like that. I'm like, well, why are you in this business? Go be an accountant somewhere. Like, what are you talking about? I don't like selling because I think it's wrong. I'm like, you think it's wrong for asking people for money for the intellectual property that you created, that you know is good and get results? Your preferences don't serve. So let me get you straight. You just gonna give it all away and run your business into the ground because you have a preference for serving for free? Child. Mm. That's crazy. Somebody put that's crazy in the chat. Somebody put that's crazy in the chat. Like, because you have a preference for not waking up and getting fully active until 7 a.m. But the challenge based on your time zone is asking you to get up at 4 a.m. You come emailing me talking about I ain't coming on a Saturday. That's crazy. But the mission requires that you get your butt up for the month of January a little earlier. That's crazy. That's crazy. Y'all preferences be killing y'all goals, like murdering them, like that. Y'all preferences. You ain't where you want to be because you got all these preferences. Let me get this straight. You prefer to be in and out of the grocery store in 10 minutes, but switching to a plant-based lifestyle will reverse your hypertension and type 2 diabetes, but it requires you to learn how to grocery shop all over again, which means your grocery trip is going to go from 10 minutes to 30, but you got preferences for it to only be 10. So you just going to keep the diabetes and the excess weight and the hypertension because of your preferences. That's crazy. That's crazy. Your mission requires you to start a business or a nonprofit. It requires you to be a little more detailed and a little more organized. But you like to be more free flowing and be in the spirit, and you don't like structure because it makes you boxed in. But now your prospects don't know what you sell, how much you charge, how often you doing it because you ain't got no structure because you prefer to just be in flow all the time with no structure. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now the business done been around for 2 years. You only done serve 2.5 people because you got preferences. I'm not organized. Get organized. I got a 9 to 5. Well, get a 5 to 9. Like your preferences is killing your goals. So anyway, that's number 4 for me. I ain't even know. Y'all know every episode we got to go on a little bit of a tangent. So that's that for this episode. But your preferences. So my number 4 was, in case y'all missed it, is I was obedient despite my preferences. I showed up, I taught, I spoke. I didn't ask my assistant to usher me out the back door as soon as I got off the stage. My people need to shake my hand. They need to hug me. They need to tell me that about their testimonial since they've been coming. They need me to hear them out. They need me to hear them out. So my preference to just get off stage and go home and be alone it doesn't serve me. My people need me. So that's how I was able to develop a good speaking career, is because I developed relationships with people. Like when I'm talking to organizers and they book me to come speak at their company, I'm speaking at four motor companies. This week I spoke at Microsoft. This month, at the end of this month, I'm speaking for Intel. Like next month, I'm gonna be in North Carolina speaking for a nonprofit. It requires me, after the engagement, if I want to build relationships with these organizations, I'm going to have to send emails, and I'm going to have to say thank you, and I'm going to have to be soft and do some, some relationship building. Now, my preference is to get straight to business. Is we ain't going to keep this thing going. But that's not how this works. Right? First, let me let you sample the product. I'm gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna blow your audience mind. They're gonna be like, where you get her from? Can we have her back? You gonna say yes. I'm gonna reach out to you and be like, when you having me back, I gotta schmooze you a little bit. I gotta do this. I gotta email, but I would prefer to hop on a quick call and seal the deal. But no, you busy and I gotta go back and forth and I gotta follow up. My preference is to be like, well, if I didn't hear anything back, they lost. No. I got to humble my ego and I got to follow up. My preferences don't serve me. Is it making sense? Let's get to number 5. Let's get to Jacqueline on YouTube says, so true. The people we serve need to touch us. You talking good, Coach Lisa. Come on, Jacqueline. Come on. Quit playing with me. Your preferences is killing your career. Your preferences is killing your business. Your preferences is killing your health goals. You hate being in the kitchen all the time. Well, you ain't never ate plant-based before. You got to try some new recipes. It's going to require you to go a little slower until you learn how to eat this lifestyle. Don't nobody care about your preferences not to cook. They don't serve what you need to eat at all these fast food places. So you got to cook it so you can heal yourself. That's crazy that y'all got all these preferences. Anyway, number 5. Now, number 5, the final thing I did to have a successful speaking career, okay, is a more tangible business tip. Okay. All right. And we can get into more tangible business tips another time, but y'all needed to understand how the speaker became who she is. But let me get into the final one, number 5. Number 5, the final thing I did to have a successful speaking career is I created my own stage. Whew. First of all, y'all own it right now. Welcome to my stage. Welcome to my stage. What does that mean? That means I did not wait for somebody to pick me. I picked me first. Now, that might have been a bar, and I know somebody caught it. I didn't wait for somebody to pick me for their stage. I picked me first. So I started my first company in 2015. And in 2016, we had our first live client event. It was a client-only event where we invited our coaching clients to come out, and we had like a panel of speakers, and me and my coach Tiff and my homegirl, my best friend Jay, and we were the speakers, and we had other people on the panel. My homie Dr. Harrington, he's a therapist. He was dope, Napoleon Harrington, and we had a couple other people. And so here's what happened. At that event in 2016, my company at that time was named Fit Camp 360. And so we had a Fit Camp 360 live event. And after that event, my best friend Jay, she was like, oh, you got a gift of speaking. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, that's your gift. I said, all right, bet. Right now, what I'm supposed to do with that? Like, do we wrap it up? Like, how does this work? Right? But she told me you got a gift of speaking. And I was like, all right, bet. So I'm about to go crazy, right? So I'm going to be speaking, using this voice, refining my skills, boom, 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 right? She's like, yeah, you belong on stage. You belong in front of people. I'm like, cool. So I started something called the Black Health Academy in 2017, right? And in the summer of 2018 is when I started First Saturdays. So I told you guys earlier in this episode that for 5 years straight, I taught a class every first Saturday of the month from July of 2018 to July of 2023. I taught a class called Get Planted, an Introduction to a Whole Food Plant-Based Lifestyle. And I taught that class live for 5 years straight, every first Saturday of the month. We missed one Saturday in 5 years. And that's because I had actually a speaking event to go to in Atlanta. And I created that class, number one, so I can pour into my community. I wanted to pour into Black people so they can understand how to use food as medicine, right? But then number two, so I can personally refine my skill of speaking. One of the reasons it takes some of us so long to get to a place where we're really good presenters and speakers is because we sitting around waiting for somebody to pick us. Just go create your own stage. So I personally created a monthly masterclass. And to this day, I still teach masterclasses. I teach business masterclasses. I teach health masterclasses. I teach chronic stress masterclasses. I do all type of masterclasses to this day. I now have a 30-day challenge where I teach live twice a week during the challenge. These are all opportunities for me to speak. And here's the biggest stage. It's the one y'all on right now. I come on live every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern and do a full keynote. I don't care what y'all say. These be keynotes. Okay. I can package any one of my Monday morning lives and sell it, because my content is cold, because it's premeditated. I think it out. I want it to be good, because I'm not just here because I said I was going to show up every Monday. I'm here to be in service. That's first and foremost, be in service to people who can't afford to work with me yet. And number two, to refine my skill. I can't refine my skill if I'm not taking it serious. It's not like, oh, let me just turn the camera on and what I'm going to talk about today. What y'all doing? No, 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 no. This is a keynote every Monday. Y'all gonna see me and send across from Oprah one day, like, man, I've been listening to Lisa's Monday morning keynotes for years. Y'all gonna be like, this cute what she's saying with Oprah, but I've been getting that fire from her for years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need you guys to understand, if you want to be a great speaker, if you want to be a great coach, if you want to learn how to connect with audiences, if you want to learn how to craft great messages, if you want to know how to navigate, okay, how do I watch the chat and get to my point and answer questions? How do I crack jokes or get off a script and come back on? You got to get into practice. And it ain't going to work consistently if you waiting on somebody else to pick you. You got to pick you first. Now, I teach my clients in the Business Accelerator how to do this, but the apprehension they have is like, oh, because I teach them how to create master classes. Like, I teach them how to create content online. I teach them how to create virtual master classes so they can refine their skill of teaching and coaching and speaking. And there are people all afraid of nobody showing up or nobody registering or nobody coming. I'm like, y'all missing the point. When you start something new, when you start a brand new YouTube page, when you start new on social media, when you start a new podcast, when you are just starting out with creating content, new speaking, new as a speaker, the main point is to get good. I don't care how many people show up. I don't care how many people registered and didn't come. I don't care about that. Like, the point is to get good, but we so in our feelings and in our ego, we're looking for vanity metrics. The whole point right now is to get good. So the fifth thing I did to get good and have a successful speaking and coaching career is I created my own stage. And you guys are on the stage right now. So I get paid thousands to speak, but I still speak for free. Who you know get paid thousands to speak and is still doing a free keynote for the world every week? Well, I'm just saying, create your own stage. If you want to get good at this, start speaking. You make up a masterclass. You make up an event that people can register and come to. Why on God's green earth would you wait for somebody to pick you and you ain't picked you? Y'all know that's crazy. Y'all know the line. That's crazy. That's crazy. You feel so? Let's review, boys and girls. Let's review, because I'm about to review the 5 things. In case you came a little late today, let me review the 5 ways, the 5 things that I've done to get good as a speaker. Now, before I review these 5 things, let me tell you why I talked about this today. And what's today? 12, 11, 10, and 9 days. In 9 days on February 12th, we're kicking off the next cohort of my plant-based coaching program, Farm to Table. And for the first time in farm to table history, I started this plant-based coaching program in 2016. But for the first time in farm to table history, I'm doing a special cohort dedicated to people who want public facing roles. And I'm doing this because I have so many brilliant people in my audience who are still staying behind the scenes and they belong in front of the scenes. And so for a lot of them, their physical appearance, their physical health is a problem. They haven't healed from emotional stuff. They're not making tough decisions. They're afraid to create their own stage because they're afraid of rejection or failure or whatever it is. And so, what I'm doing for this next cohort of Farm to Table Plant Based Coaching Program that's running February 12th to April 30th, you'll be live with me for 12 weeks, is not only am I teaching you how to use a plant based diet to optimize your physical health and your mental health, I'm going to be teaching radical obedience. I'm going to be teaching what's required to show up on assignment. And I'm only teaching it because I do it and I've done it. I only teach what I do. I only teach things for which I have receipts for. And so if you're interested in taking Farm to Table with me, February 12th to April 30th, Wednesday evenings, 7 p.m. Eastern, 12 consecutive weeks, we're going to get your physical health together with a plant-based diet. And then I'm going to teach you what's required to become a public figure. If that is you, I want you to click the link to apply or actually enroll. I think we just got enrollment open right now. You don't even have to apply. Now, right now, class is 80% full. Like they filling up quick. They've been filling up all weekend. Okay. We just really launched on Saturday. So they've been filling up all weekend. So if you want to be in the room with me, if you want to learn more about what's required to be a public speaker, coach, author, whatever you want to do, a leader with a team, and if you want to learn what it means to be radically obedient to your assignment, so your assignment leads as opposed to your preferences, then you need to be in Farm to Table. So YouTube, the link is pinned in the chat for you guys. Let me put the link on here on Instagram. It's lisaangelsmith.com/apply. And you can learn about Farm to Table, or just feel free to DM me too. Like, Lisa, I just watched your live and I want to know more about Farm to Table. And I'm happy to answer any questions for you. So I just put it in the notes on Insta. Okay. I pinned the comment, lisaangelsmith.com/apply. And I would love to have you guys because we gonna go crazy this semester. We're gonna go crazy. We done already had, I think, 3 alumni come back, 3 people who took Farm to Table before. They like, I'm coming back for this cohort at least. So they done enrolled this weekend. It's gonna get so good. So I've never taught radical obedience during a Farm to Table semester before. So we're gonna pair those 2 things together and it's gonna go crazy. So here is the 5 things that I went over today for those of you who missed it, okay? 5 things I've personally done to have a successful speaking and coaching career. Number 1, I got physically healthy so that my physical insecurities were not taking up mental real estate that was meant for my message and my purpose. Tis a bar. So I got physically healthy first. So I personally lost over 60 plus pounds, got super confident in my physical appearance. And now I can go on stages, no matter how big or small the room is, and feel confident in how I look so that I'm not distracted and I can give all my attention to the audience, to the message, to the assignment. Number 2, the second thing I did to become a successful speaker and have a successful coaching company is I healed emotionally. So me personally, I had to heal from abandonment issues. Some of you guys may need to heal from something else. But now, I don't know this word. Oh God, somebody help me out. Y'all scholars in the chat. Y'all Grammarly junkies in the chat. Is it impenetrable? Shoot. We're Travis, you still on? I need somebody with a PhD. What does it mean when somebody can't penetrate your fortress or whatever? Impenetrable? I don't know the word. That's the word I want to use. I don't care. So somebody spell it in the chat for me. But like my emotional fortitude, I can't be triggered and thrown off track, right? Like, and okay, thanks, Tiff. She wrote it on the chat on Instagram. But that's what I am now. Like, since I healed emotionally, right? I can't be like, you can't cross certain lines with me that compromises my health. Like Saturday, man, y'all be missing out if y'all ain't in our challenges. On Saturday, our like last call of the challenge, I told them a story about the time I saw a coach of mine. She was a personal coach of mine. I saw her have an emotional breakdown on stage. I saw her having an emotional breakdown on stage. And I told that story on Saturday. And I told our attendees on Saturday, I told them when I saw my coach have an emotional breakdown on stage, it was in that exact moment that I knew I would never work with her again because I instantly lost confidence in her leadership. And part of the reason she had an emotional breakdown on stage is because she had not been doing the private personal development work to make sure she's fully healed emotionally. And so as a speaker on stage, she lost her marbles right quick. And I was like, "Oh, you done lost me." Because if I employ somebody to lead me, I need to be able to trust that they can lead me. And I'm already strong. I'm already super smart. I'm brilliant. I just can't say impenetrable, but I'm already smart, strong, decisive. So for me to pick somebody as my coach, they got to be good, good. They got to be good, good. And so if I see your EQ is below average, you've lost me as a follower. So when I tell you number two is I healed and I am emotionally sound, that has made me a much more dynamic speaker because I can't be triggered by life. I can't be thrown off. You're not going to catch me off guard. So anyway, that's number two. Number three was self awareness. I told you guys about an assessment I've been taking for years with my coach. I told you guys about how much I studied my assessment to master myself. So when I learned I was an introvert, I had to make adjustments in my speaking, in my energetic capacity, so that I can show up for my audience the way they needed me to show up. Right. So that was number three. I developed a super high level of self. Like I know myself so well. I know myself so well. And it's such a great, like, we talking about business and speaking right now, but this is obviously poured beautifully into my relationships, into my friendships, into my business. Like my heightened level of self-awareness is just a gift, right? It's just a wonderful, wonderful gift from God. And so that has really impacted my ability to speak and present well. And then number four was I was obedient despite my personal preferences, right? So despite my personal desire to, run off stage and be alone, I realized I had to create capacity for the public. I had to create capacity for refueling after I speak. I had to create capacity for resting hours before I present and speak versus trying to cram my days with a lot of work. Like on days where I have a speaking engagement, I block off the whole day and I try and make the speaking engagement my only thing I have to do. So like I'm speaking this month for Intel on February 27th. I'd have nothing else on my calendar for that day. Not a single thing, because I want to be my absolute best for them because I don't naturally have extrovert energy. So, in order for me to manufacture the energy that's required for me to speak, I have to organize my day and my tasks differently. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have self awareness. And so now I can be obedient despite my preferences because I have that self awareness. So that's number four. I'm obedient despite my preferences, right? And because my preference is to just work all day. Like I love working because I love getting stuff done because completion gives me a dopamine hit. And so I would prefer to work all day, but I know when I speak, I actually need to rest more so I can have more energy. So my natural preference to work on the days I got to speak, I can't honor that preference, right? I can't get my dopamine hit from checking things off, right? And so your preferences don't serve you and you have to be obedient despite your preferences. And then finally, number five was I created my own stage. I didn't wait for somebody to pick me. I picked myself first. And you guys know what happened inevitably when I did that? When I picked myself first, lo and behold, the people who wanted me to come speak was in the audience that I created, right? So people were coming to my first Saturday class. They come to my master classes now. They come to my challenges now. And they're like, hey, yo, I'm part of this Black women's group. I'm part of this sorority. I have a big church. I actually work at Ford Motor Company. I work at matter of fact, you guys know how I got the Microsoft gig that I did last week? Literally on LinkedIn, a young lady who follows me who just happens to work at Microsoft, she was like, I've been following you for years and you have been so consistent. She saw my content and was like, hey, we're doing a wellness week. I would love for you to come in and speak. I didn't pitch myself to Microsoft. They found me because she's been in my audience. So when you create your own stage and create your own audience, you inevitably create your next opportunity on somebody else's stage. Psh. Pew, pew, pew. Somebody, let me know if y'all want me to drop my Cash App because y'all should have paid for this episode. Let me know if I should have just pinned my Cash App because the gems have been dropping all morning. Okay, let me tell you. Okay, so I created my own stage and I didn't wait for somebody to pick me. I decided I was going to speak. I decided what my subject matter was going to be. I decided how long I was going to be on stage. I decided what my offer was going to be. I made all the decisions, and inevitably, what happened that created an audience with people who worked at places and had initiatives where they needed speakers, and they were like, well, we would love to have you over here because we saw you were at your class, we saw you at your master class, I saw you in your challenge, Lisa, and as a result, I want to book you for my challenge, I want to book you for my organization, I want to book you at my church. Psh, forget about it. I know you see it. I'm done. It's been an hour and 5 minutes. Oh my God, what time is it? Oh shoot, I got a meeting. Okay, bye guys. I will be back here next Monday at 10 a.m. EST with another keynote. Okay, we have 9 days remaining for you guys to get registered for Farm to Table plant-based coaching program. We start on February 12th. If you need to do the physical health part, the emotional healing part, but then you also want to understand kind of the requirements and the criteria for living a life of radical obedience, then you want to be in this cohort of Farm to Table coming up starting February 12th to April 30th, 12 weeks live every Wednesday night with yours truly, getting yelled at, getting taught, getting loved on. We're going to do some small talk, whatever. And we're going to have a good time. So the class is already 80% full. I look forward to the rest of you guys filling it up. We got 9 days left. Don't sleep on it. We're going to have a phenomenal time and it's going to be life-changing. How I know? Because I've been doing this since 2016 and that's all I do now is change lives. To God be the glory. All right, y'all. I will see you guys next Monday. Have a phenomenal week and don't forget to go out here and eat like you got some sense. Peace out, y'all.